Todd Phillips has been doing a lot of press ahead of Joker 2, and in this recent interview with Variety, he talked about all the changes they made to the Harley Quinn character. This is a direct quote. He said, "The high voice, the accent, the gum chewing, and all that sort of sassy stuff that's in the comics, we stripped away." As a longtime fan of Harley Quinn as a character, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but reading between the lines, it really sounds like what he wanted to do was strip away the hyper-femininity that the character is really known for. Probably to make her more palatable. In the article, he says that this is an attempt to make her fit into the Gotham, their Gotham, that version of the Gotham, believably. But it sounds to me like they want to make this character more palatable to the audience of Joker 1, and you can interpret what the audience of the first Joker movie was all on your own. I'm not gonna do that for you. And I want to bring up Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy because I feel like a lot of fans of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy on the internet now are maybe too young to remember that a lot of the discourse around those movies, like when they were coming out and immediately after their release, was that they were really good movies, but they weren't as good comic book adaptations because Christopher Nolan, the way he talked about them in the source material, seemed like he maybe thought that the medium he was working in was a little bit more elevated than comics, and he wanted it to be taken more seriously, and it was obviously more grounded. And so people kind of thought that he had like a bit of a resentment for the idea of like having to lower himself to make a comic book movie. Now, I don't want to comment on whether or not that is true or not. Obviously, I don't know. I think that there's some truth to the statement that he wanted his interpretation of Batman to be its own thing. But I also think that he really did do a lot of the characters a great service. I think that like particularly his Joker and his Harvey Dent are both really well-written characters that are very rooted in a kind of realism, but also very much embrace like the zany comic book aspect of what the source material was bringing to them. I feel like Todd Phillips is a much better person to have that critique of like, he seems hyper resentful of the source material. And like, he has said many times that like, this is a very different world. Even he's commented on Arthur Fleck, like not being a criminal mastermind. And it's because it's a different interpretation. And at this point, like we already know also that like this character isn't going to go by Harleen. Also, she's not a doctor. She's a patient. And I'm just wondering, like, what is even the point of making an adaptation that is basically its own original story at this point? I mean, I know why. It's because Hollywood is obsessed with IP and they want to get that sweet, sweet comic book fan money. But this, I'm just really confused. And frankly, like as a longtime fan, again, of Harley Quinn, like this character means so much to so many women. She really has become like one of DC's most popular female characters, which is kind of unheard of because she's not a hero and she's an anti-hero at best. And even though the character has evolved a lot in recent iterations to the more heroic side, she's a very complex character. And like, putting aside how silly it is to assume that having an accent makes you like less sympathetic or empathetic or believable, that's just absurd. People have accents. Also stripping away all of the hyper femininity that this character is known for sucks. And also, I mean, like, I was willing to go into this with an open mind, knowing that she has a different backstory, because I don't think that you have to have a one-to-one adaptation for it to be good, but a lot of what Harley is known for is the trauma she suffered and the way that she has overcome like a very, very difficult set of trials and tribulations that are very specific to women. Like, obviously, we don't even know yet if this film is going to incorporate the DV. That is one of the most defining aspects of Harley's relationship to Joker. Of course, I want to make it explicitly clear that issues like that don't only affect women. Of course, they can happen to men and non-binary people. They just disproportionately affect women all over the world. And I think that there are a lot of reasons, those among them, why this character means so much to so many women. I mean, there's also the fact that her character frequently faces misogyny in her quest to become a doctor and her career as a doctor. And even when she like has a criminal career, like she's not taken seriously because of her hyper femininity. And I feel like removing all of that is like removing a lot of the reasons why this character has become the powerhouse that she has and has such a huge and devoted female audience. But I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong and this is going to be great. Stranger things have happened, I guess. Anyways, I don't really recognize this character from the way they're depicting it. It's giving a little bit pick me. She can't be like other girls, but I guess we'll see.